From their cow. Yeah.
So welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. We are just getting the last little bit set up and then we'll move forward with the programming. I want to introduce myself. My name is Greg Flatt. I'm the president of Flat Earth Networking. We're a cybersecurity consultancy based here in Tennessee, and we work with organizations all over the world. And just a little bit of housekeeping for today. We're going to start, of course, with my preamble. I'm going to get out of your way very, very quickly, I promise. And then we will go through the introduction for the speaker, and then Prashant will take over and hopefully will absolutely give us a fantastic conversation here today. Speaking of conversations, this is your time to ask questions as well. We are very, very blessed to have Prashant Natarajan here with us. He is the Chief Artificial Intelligence Officer at Velatura Corporation. And I think that's pretty impressive, but he is also a best-selling author and a heck of a nice guy. And we really, really enjoy having conversations with him. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn it over to Prashant and let him talk about AI, specifically Agentic AI. But again, this is your time. If there's questions that you have, let us know, and we will have that discussion as well. All right. Thank you, Prashant.
Thank you, Greg, and thank you all for your time. I'm guessing you have nothing better to do than to come and listen to me. So for that, I'm very grateful. My mama always said to be humble. So everything that Greg said was right, except that last part that I'm a nice person. So I just want to set the stage and clear any misconceptions before we get too far ahead. But on the other hand, I do promise you at least an interesting conversation that talks about Agentic AI. Maybe before I do that, because I would love to tailor this conversation for you, and I'm really glad that you scheduled this with lunch and not before lunch or after lunch, which would be a very tricky time for any speaker to do. So on that note, as you enjoy your lunch, maybe just go around the room quickly, tell me a bit about yourself, what do you do, and what's your interest in Agentic AI, whether you're doing it now, you're planning to do it, and how can we make this a beneficial conversation for all of us. So, yes, so we'll start with you, left to right.
That's fine, I'm happy to talk. I'm with Villalobos Bank, my name is Scott Harrison, and I'm Chief Architect. AI has been something that we utilize on a very low scale, mainly because outside of a few small in-house projects, we're very concerned about doing things out in the cloud and putting in real data and working with it. But of course, our IT guys use it as a tool, solution. But what we really want to do going forwards is a great example. We just merged in a bank we bought, which we do that about every couple of years. And there's probably no time that we put more robotic workers in place. And I say that, people acting in a robotic fashion of basically going out, verifying data and things that we really would love to be able to replace a little bit of that workforce with things that could do the same thing over and over again. So that's what we really foresee that AI will hopefully provide us in the future.
Thank you, Scott, and I'll come back to that because I think a couple of comments you made are very relevant to how I see the world. But we'll come back to that. Thank you. Thank you for your time again.
I'm Jim Davis. My wife, Philomena, we've met you before. But we're here actually through an invitation. But what we deal with very often is transfer money through like when closings, and we give everybody big warnings, wire fraud. We do not make those connections. It's between the title people and the banks and everything. And that is a bit of a problem when you're transferring money. And we had a closing last year that from out of Washington was intercepted. The guy lost $250,000 his down payment on the triplex that he was buying here. So
it got lost on this route, but even though they were sending because of missteps happened. The buyer didn't speak very good English, number one, we heard, and somebody intercepted his email, sent an email to them as though they are the title agency, and the title agency also sent an email to him. He picked the wrong email.
Thank you so much.
He picked the wrong email, sent the money that way, and he never got it.
Yeah, I think we will chat about that, because when we talk about cybersecurity, it's not something in the abstract, right? I was in a conversation earlier today with someone. I think almost every healthcare organization in America has had its networks taken over in the last 5 years. You can almost pretty much say that there's nobody left that has not been affected. And then you come to the personal thing. You're absolutely right. A lot of cyber starts with the individual. 90+% of breaches are not caused by external entities. It's caused by individual humans who act as humans. That's true whether you're in the enterprise or whether you're in a real estate transaction, for example. And I do remember you well. You were very gracious to us, and good to see you again.
Also, I want to learn more about AI.
We are all going to learn together. What we are going to do is demystify the hype, remove both the Hollywood and the Silicon Valley, two ends of California that are causing no end of problems in AI. And no offense to the Californians online. Both my kids were still born there.
Hi, I'm Mackenzie. I work as a cybersecurity developer for Flyers. And so I'm working, a little bit with AI. I'm very interested, and it always seems very, very cool. So I'm looking at doing an in-house AI for, the company. So I'm interested in the security of AI.
Perfect. We will have quite a bit to talk about today. Thank you.
My name is Mike. I work for a SaaS company here in town. We make software for the wood and truss manufacturing industry. So we've been exploring AI a little bit internally with some of our different processes in the manufacturing area. A lot of challenges with that. Obviously the security concerns, and then also a lot of the challenges are some of the things that we need are very specific, and there aren't really models that are necessarily tuned for some of the things that we're trying to do.
Build your own.
What's that?
Build your own, control your own, monetize your own. It's also the best way you can ensure your users' security, to be honest. Right? Don't be at the mercy of somebody else's cloud. It's a good place to start from, but those costs are going to increase and your flexibility is going to decrease. So be ready to prevent that from happening, even from an architectural standpoint.
Hi, I'm Logan Standard, the account manager with Flatters Networking. And I'm here to support the company, but also a lot of my clients are very interested in implementing AI from a cautious standpoint. They either recognize the security risks involved with it, or they are trying to implement it on a very quick timeline. So I'm here to just gain more knowledge to really advise them on what is the right path. How can you leverage it in a safe way, but also one that's effective.
Thank you. My grandmother, she passed away recently at the ripe old age of 103. She had 9 kids. And she said, Prashant, the biologics of pregnancy and delivery hasn't changed. It still takes 9 months for a baby to be born. So we have to balance speed versus what we want the baby to be. I just want to leave it at that. We'll come back to it. Certain things cannot be, you don't put 1 man and 9 women and get a baby out in 1 month. I don't know, but that's what my grandmom told me. She was just a lady who grew up in India back in the day, lived through 2 pandemics, the Spanish flu and COVID.
But you either end up with a very happy or a very sad man.
That's right. We won't go there. It's just not going to lead to a successful baby in 1 month.
My name's Caitlin. I am an account manager with Tech Systems. So similarly, my job is to help our clients solve business problems with technology solutions. So obviously this is a hot topic and just trying to learn as much as I can to be able to advise them, bring value where I can.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Jonathan Taylor, I'm the new director of AI and data for the city of Chattanooga. So kind of look at our AI from two different perspectives. One, the internal and the external. So the internal is all the stuff that we're doing in-house. We're really just starting that journey, everything from citizen enrichment and process automation to employee. Red City has like 2,000 employees, so how do we increase productivity through various specific agents or just general AI platforms? And the external is managing all of our service providers for various things that might have different AI things built in that we want to make use of, but we have to be concerned with the security, privacy of all their AI solutions and offerings, and also just the veracity and make sure that they're doing what they claim to be doing.
Jonathan, thank you for being here. If I may just do a plug for folks on the camera, people in the room know this. I think Jonathan's presence here is reason number 37,023 as to why you should come to Chattanooga and make it your home. My family and I have been here for 6 years. It's been the most wonderful time of our lives. I've lived in 5 countries myself, not visited, but lived. And I just can't say enough nice things about Chattanooga. There's a reason we are called the gig city, people on the camera, and it has nothing to do with fishing. Right? So thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. Very proud to be a resident of the city that is still leading the way on smart governance with AI. Your presence here underscores that. Very grateful to have you.
Hi, I'm Anita Robinson. I'm the Deputy CIO for the city. I hired him. But we're both very fortunate to work for a mayor who's very tech progressive. He very much has gone into AI and wants to make sure that we deliver government services to our citizens in fast and efficient government.
If I had known that we would have people from the mayor's office here, I would have actually prepared a presentation that would have been worth it. My apologies, I didn't know that, so you're going to be underwhelmed completely. Thank you.
Yeah, Mike Williams with Flat Earth Networking. I think, when we think of AI, obviously, like most people, you're using it to make your own processes, all the, repetitive tasks, trying to become more efficient. But we're also tasked with assisting our clients in using AI and securing it and making sure that they are using it safely as well as not putting their data out used otherwise.
Thank you. So I think that gives us a great framework. I think I'm going to get into the details. I just want to lay certain kind of maybe facts, so to speak, so that you know that that I am real and I do have some experience in this stuff. My teams and I over the last 8 years have brought about 100,000 AI ML models into production, into life across organizations like Kaiser Permanente, the National Institutes of Health, the VA, at scale, multiple pharma companies. Most of my work has been in health and life sciences, but the reason I came to Chattanooga from Australia was actually to head the AI function at Unum. So I do have some insurance, banking, energy also in my background. So at Velachura, where I work currently, Velachura Public Benefit Corporation is one of America's premier health exchange healthcare networks. We build, maintain, operate what are called trusted data sharing organizations and health information exchanges across 11 states in the US. A small presence in Tennessee. We have a large presence in Georgia. We have a presence in Florida. We do a lot of work in Missouri. I would say we are in 2/3 of the SEC, pretty much in addition to other parts of the country. And there's a lot of stuff that we are doing at Velachira. Where it comes to this conversation is specifically the fact that at Velachira, we have AI agents that have been in production for the last 6+ months, about 20 such agents. So what I'm going to be talking about is based on our experience, not just theory. But if you want to know, I did write the second book on agents, as Greg said, after Peter Nordvig, who wrote the first book. I don't hold a patch on him, but I did write about the two things which I'm going to talk about today: context and intelligence, because those are the two things that make agents, well, useful versus the next generation of broken automation. So, gives me the basis to get to the first slide. So what is an agent? So let's go with definitions first. An agent is essentially a hardware, software, or combination entity, right? It can be a program, it could also be embedded, that essentially perceives its environment through data inputs. Data inputs can also include sensory inputs. For example, sensory is also a type of data, voice is a type of data, vision is a type of data, right? We don't have yet a way to reliably do this directly off of the human senses. So what we do is we capture the data, waveform data, digital data. We convert, the brain is not a digital entity. The brain is an analog entity. But the best we have is digital representation. So perceiving the environment through digital data inputs is one of the things that characterizes an agent. Second, it processes the data to make intelligent decisions. And intelligence doesn't necessarily always mean human intelligence. And that's good and bad. Because I woke up very early today. If I had not had that coffee, I would be in a foul mood. You're not going to get that from an agent. An agent is going to do what you ask it to do. It's going to be more emotionally intelligent than me. I don't know about the rest of you, but more emotionally intelligent than me and more consistently. But at the same time, it's not going to have empathy. For example, it's not going to have responsibility built into it unless we build those into it. Not just into training, but validation and human feedback. Finally, it takes actions to achieve specific contextual goals. And this is the part that even today, when you hear the stuff about agents, you don't hear enough of. I don't want an agent, how do I put it? I don't want an agent that creates classical music for me. I want to do that. But I want my agent to find the best classical pieces based on my taste that gives me prompts that let me construct things. I don't want my agents to have 100% human-like agency where, for example, in healthcare, they decide to give me an involuntary colonoscopy. Sorry, folks, about the imaginary. But we don't want that to happen, right? We actually want our AI to work for us. So one of the key things over here is, as much as autonomy is important in agents, what is even more important is we let the human user decide whether they want full autonomy on an agent, they want partial autonomy, or they want shared decision making. That comes to context. Certain cases, I may be both cognitively and emotionally tired to take a decision. I want the agent to be able to react to that state of mind rather than not. There may be other times where I'm seriously interested in drilling into every bit of data. The agent should support that as well. That level of intelligence needs to work in the context. The last point I'll make in this is an agent's existence should be brief, and it should be like our 8-year-old son who you have met. Should be seen and heard on demand. Not when you want to pop up, not when the elders are having the conversation, but when we want you to say what we want you to say, then kiddo, go run off and play with the Legos. We don't want you for the rest of dinner. Sounds harsh, but that's the demand we have, and that's what our agents must do. And you must demand that as users of these agents. What is not an agent is very important. There is a lot of agent washing that is going on, like AI washing. What is agent washing? Take something that exists already, right? And then wave a feather on the top of it. And that feather is called the ChatGPT API. And you say, from today, Burning Feather, you're not called Burning Feather anymore, you're called Pablo. Sure, but you haven't really changed anything except the name. So an existing robotic process automation bot, how much ever your vendors try to convince you, is not an agent. It's a precursor to an agent, but more importantly, a lot of RPA bots don't have intelligence that was built into it. They are pure play automation of existing bad behaviors, bad processes, suboptimal processes. Automating bad brings more bad. An agent will have to have the intelligence in it to separate good from bad. It cannot just be an AI wrapper or an API service that sits on top of an existing workflow. This is the washing that is happening today. 90% of the companies that promise AI basically have 1-800 ChatGPT in the background. Well, I can do 1-800 ChatGPT from WhatsApp today. Why do I need you? Right? Or I can do it with one of my existing tools. If you are not able to control your models, you're not able to control their behaviors, you're not able to give feedback on the outcomes, then you have to really question whose agent it really is. It cannot be an existing rules engine or an enterprise resource planning or business process modeling automation, because those exist today. So what really defines an AI agent then? An AI agent is characterized by autonomy, right? The ability to make independent decisions on demand. Adaptability, the ability to adapt to new conditions, like what I said. Know when the human wants you to help and be autonomous. Know when the human doesn't want you to be. Now, if I have an agent that knows that, it knows that starting morning 8 o'clock to afternoon 3, don't interrupt Prashant because he's going to be very lazy. 3 to 5, he does his optimal work and then he goes home. I want my agent to be able to perceive and be adaptable to that. And then I want it, in the end, we are not building these things because they are cool. Yes, they are cool. The need for automation is as old as written history. Chinese texts, Greek texts, Indian texts going back to about 4,000 years, all talk about the need for agents, believe it or not. They have specific names for them. They give them human qualities. The desire for automation, I think you said it. The purpose of automation should be not to replace the human with a robot, but to replace the robot inside each of us so that we can be more sublime, more discerning, more empathetic, be more human. And that's what your agents should do. They should be goal-oriented. They should pursue objectives through reasoning or planning. Core components is perception. Gathering data from the environment, for example. Right? We know that if you want to look at opioid abuse, substance abuse in America, or deaths, you have more data sitting in ambulances, EMT, cities, and ERs. 2 out of those 3 are data we don't capture, really. It's only the worst cases that come to the ER. There's a lot of cases that are not as bad. People at risk don't come to the ER. Homelessness is a better predictor of opioid overuse than any other single factor. Whether you're a veteran or not and what level of access you have to care is a better predictor of opioid abuse than any other factor. Number 2 in the list. So the signals that lie elsewhere. But our systems are not designed to do that. The perception of agents allows us to bring together more noise from multiple places, but filters it down into a goal-oriented signal that an agent can work on. Does that make sense? Reasoning and decision making. The challenge we have always had with data is we today face a deluge of data. And that doesn't include Elon Musk's X feed. You add that, it becomes double. But the challenge with the deluge of data is we have less time to take impactful decisions and decisions that matter, and we are dealing with more noise. So if your agent and your AI doesn't have both reasoning and planning in it, and not always reasoning and planning as constructed by humans, but reasoning and planning as defined algorithmically, then you will never be able to make sense of the new data that we are collecting or we want to collect. Yeah? Action. The decision making through effective outputs is very important. It can't be like my life on a Sunday, all dressed up and know where to go. We don't want that. They should learn. The challenge with existing systems, existing software, existing systems at scale, whether it is in a commercial enterprise or a not-for-profit or at the government level, the biggest problem we have is we are forced to rely on learning to be human-driven. But that conditions first, and it requires us to have humans who themselves are always up to speed. Challenging again. So if you can have agents that can not only learn by themselves, RLHF is an important term. A lot of the things you're seeing around the latest open source AI models in the last 6 to 12 months use this technique called RLHF, reinforced learning with human feedback. It's the thumbs up, thumbs down that you do on ChatGPT or Perplexity. That's really reinforcement learning at the highest level. When you add a comment, you're reinforcing it further. But it's not a human who's sitting and watching over it. There are algorithms that pick that up. Look at how long you use that session for. You could have used the session, you may have been happy with 90%, one sentence it said turned you off. So there's all kinds of things we do to learn and improve these systems. Finally, environment. They should be observable, deterministic or random. You can have sliders, static or dynamic settings. For example, agents that play a chess game occur in a fully observable, deterministic environment. There's only so many moves in chess. How many over tens of millions of moves or billions they are. On a car, self-driving car, you don't have limited variables. You have unlimited variables, including the driver, who is sitting there and decides to override the AI, right? So I think that's what your agents should really do. And you have to ask people who are selling you agents, selling you AI, this is not a theoretical checklist. It's a practical checklist of stuff that you should be looking at, and also understand what these can do. Simple reflex agents. Example, I don't want us to think of agents as something that came in with the age of AI. Yes, AI has made them more real, has made them more useful, will make them more useful, but we've been using agents for a long time. Each of us use an agent in our home. It's called a simple reflex agent, your thermostat. Your old one, not even the Nest or whatever it is. Your old thermostat is an agent. You set a temperature. It basically changes your HVAC to stay at the temperature. It's automation, think about it. You're not sitting there like changing it all the time. You're not using a blower to blow air on it, right? Model-based reflex agents. These agents are important. They create a map of the world. How many of you have seen or used a Roomba? That's agentic AI. But it's simple agentic AI. What it does is it tells you, okay, this is the floor. It creates a three-dimensional view of the world. And it says, this is the floor. All these things that look like tables and chairs, for that agent, they are just vertical things to avoid. That's an agent. It works today in our homes. Goal-based agents, GPS, excellent example, right? You set a target, and then you say, I want to get there shortest time, avoid tolls, etc. So these are agents, frankly speaking. Utility-based agents, a stock trading bot that balances risk and reward, for example. Right? Stop loss bot. That's, again, these things exist today. Finally, my point is that while these agents are not new and AI makes them more intelligent, makes them more useful, I really believe the world of agents is going to shift to what I call contextually intelligent agents. I write about this in my books. Contextually intelligent agents, as their name suggests, do three things. They are agents that are intelligent, which means they learn. They learn from varying environments. They learn from varying data. They learn from user expectations, user behaviors. But they are also contextual, which means they come and go to meet a specific need. They don't exist there all the time like an irritating version of Microsoft Clippy. Right? So these agents will adapt and improve from experience. They will incorporate large language models as we see them. They will incorporate RLHF, reinforcement learning and human feedback. They will also incorporate a lot of machine learning, which is something that we have lost in the last 2 years of excitement around generative AI, but which will come back and be useful again. And I posit that we will see from a cybersecurity perspective hierarchical agents, which really think of these as manager agents, right? So a lot of these are technical agents. I want you, when a new user is created, to give them a specific passphrase option or a security policy. I'm happy to share all of these slides, no problem. Make it available to Greg and team. So hierarchical agents, think of these as the agentic version of a human manager. Okay, so now you will have a human manager control 10 of these agents. Moderna, the vaccine pharma company, has just dissolved their CTO's office and their human resources office. They've made them one. Why? Because they see tomorrow's workforce as being a human, managing a team of humans and agents, both, with those agents doing human-like tasks. Now, we're not going to give them a hike, but we know from emergent LLM behavior that if you reward an LLM with praise, it does much better job on the next prompt. So we may have to praise them a lot. But that is where the workforce is going. Self-improving agents. These are going to be models, large language models. I don't think large language models will get us there because of the nature of the technology. Language models by themselves are pattern recognition machines at scale, and they use what is called autoregressive encoders. That's a fancy word for saying they predict the next letter in a sequence, right? So they don't really have self-reflection capabilities the way humans do. But that's really what agents need to do. I'm not saying large language models will become self-reflecting, but your agents may become self-reflecting whether they use LLMs or not, right? The third thing is swarm. And this, actually we are seeing a lot of these swarm agents today in the cybersecurity context, because these are the agentic behaviors of threat agents today. Bad people, bad actors are not attacking systems the old way. If AI gives good people like us and people on the web options to do good and do better, be more productive, create more happier people, bad people are using the same AI to multiply the amount of damage they can do on one hand, but also keep in mind it is also the democratization of AI by bad players. If you had to be a good developer to be a good hacker, which was needed, today you can be an iffy developer with AI and still be a good hacker. So that's the world we have to prepare for, right? And then finally, adversarial agents. I've been talking about this for very many years. An adversarial system, as the name suggests, is simply this. It's also what is called a competitor challenger model. You have A, B. A is trying to enter that room, B is trying to prevent A's entry. So, or think of it as tug of war, best example, right? A and B pulling on a rope. At one point, one of them is going to lose. At that point, a new challenger comes in, but the person who won is the victor. And then it keeps going. It's an endless tug of war that is going. But the difference, unlike tug of war, is every time this happens, the rope becomes stronger. Because the learning system is learning on, oh, what did I do badly the last time? Where did this break through? Okay, in my next iteration, let me build a safeguard to prevent this exploit. But then maybe there is another exploit. But the challenger is now saying, wait a minute, it's become harder now. So adversarial ML is very real, and generative adversarial networks are one sort of generative AI that really hasn't picked up steam in the exuberance we have had around large language models, reasoning models, etc. I predict that its time has come. Opportunities for us from a cyber perspective: threat detection and response. Big obvious one, agents monitoring network traffic, detecting anomalies, and responding automatically, right? The good thing, again, this is the important thing about agents. When I said agents should observe and learn from their environment, we must understand that if it is a malicious issue, you don't need explainable AI all the way to tell you to block it. Your tolerance on what you need to prove there is much lower from a governance perspective than when you're taking a decision on whether somebody gets a particular procedure or not, or whether somebody gets identified for an at-risk disease or not. Very different, yeah? Penetration testing, obviously. Use AI not just to solve historical problems, but use AI to do AI, yeah? Threat intelligence analysis, the number of bad actors that we face is just through the roof, if you go take a look at the average threat monitor that we face as a country on a daily basis, there are about 150 countries hitting us. I actually have spent some time looking at these for other reasons. I didn't know some of these countries exist, but they're trying to hack our public networks. Some years ago, a non-state entity based in the Middle East, non-state entity, actually took control of and opened the sluice gates of a dam in Ohio. These things are real, right? So how do we get ahead of them? Automated incident response also comes with there. We talked about adversarial AI quite a bit. Now, I'm sure you're all excited and ready to figure out how to bring it. But then, as the saying goes, if God created the cures, he or she created the diseases too. Which means that even as you bring the value of these to the table, you got to consider certain good practices that need to happen. Agents are not a panacea for everything. They are not a panacea for existing poor cybersecurity practice. An AI system built on bad data, bad networking, bad threat analysis is not going to give you good results. If anything, garbage in, garbage out gets amplified in an AI world. One of the biggest things we have learned over the years and at Velachura is you got to get your underlying processes, data, and workflows right if you want to get the maximum benefit out of AI.
I apologize. I've got to leave. Got some emergency things, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'm going to follow up with these slides.
Love to.
Thank you.
Thank you. Autonomy risks. So it's nice to have all these things running around, doing stuff. I don't know how many of, I'm sure most of you, given your interest here, are tracking this. There is actually a word called GPT psychosis now. I wonder when we will get an ICD code for it. So that we'll start tracking it. But this is apparently a real thing. It's people who are getting so attached to older LLMs that they're not able to take the newer LLM showing different behavior. And it's turning out to be pretty interesting at scale. So there are certainly, autonomy is good. We know from social media, for example, without going into all the details, that certain things shouldn't have happened. We know that from 10 years of social media. If AI is unintentionally creating things like this, it not only raises ethical concerns, but it also raises the question of where you want autonomy and where you don't want autonomy. Because the same autonomy of an agent that can be used for good can also be used for bad or nefarious purposes. Scalability versus security, right? So there's no glory to be won in bringing 1,000 of these to life if you can't secure them. Do 20 of them right and make sure they are done responsibly in a way that drives governance. And then finally, we must align what we are doing on agents when handling sensitive data and use certification programs like ISO 42001, which we at Velatura, I think we are among one of the first 50 companies in the world to go down that process, because we live in the trusted data world. We are in the trusted AI world now. So it's not enough for us to just say we've got high trust, we've got HIPAA, or we've got SOC 2. We got to be able to demonstrate a regulatory flexibility that makes us future-proof to regulations, understanding very well that a lot of these regulations tend to be reactive, not proactive. On that note, I'd love to see if there are questions. I'm happy to go back to topics also.
I just had a quick one on that last point with the regulations. With your background in cybersecurity, how long do you think before the government starts to put some regulations and enforce regulations around some of these compliance frameworks?
That's all.
You have SOC 2 and things like that. You talk about all of these, healthcare breaches, and breaches are happening every day all across the country, costing insurance companies billions of dollars. How long do you think before something like that happens to where there's forced regulation, or do you think that will happen?
So I think that's a very good question. It's also a multi-faceted question. So I'll try to address maybe 2 or 3 points there without boring you all or keeping you away from your desert. It's not that we don't have regulations in America. High trust in the healthcare context, FINRA in the financial services context, and others have had regulations on explainable models, for example, on credit risk scoring, account approvals in finance, healthcare, etc. for quite some time. It's not that they don't exist. They do exist. There are also things like NIST, which provide America-wide guidelines, frameworks. There are state guidelines. Tennessee is a huge supporter of the Elvis Act, which Senator Blackburn has been a big proponent of, to protect the rights of citizens, especially musicians and content creators in our state, which is huge for us. So there are various regulations. There's then things like ISO 42001. I think the key point is not, and then there is the recent White House, President Trump's executive order and America's AI action plan, which on the record I personally am very excited about, because it drives for the democratization of AI, it drives open source and open weight, it drives for citizen engagement and participation, and it creates an ecosystem. I believe strongly that the time to regulate AI is when decisions are taken, not to prevent innovation. So let 1,000 flowers bloom, and let's create our bouquets out of those 1,000 flowers. You're never going to use all 1,000 flowers in creating the bouquet for your mom. You're going to use the best. Let's create that environment though. solutions which drive needless regulation on data, model cards, etc., in my opinion, are going to kill innovation even before they get started. We hear a lot about algorithmic bias, fairness. Well, let me tell you, having worked in this space for 15 years, specifically in AI, and I'm out, and as a human being, what is fair to me is not fair to you. Not on every topic. Fairness is subjective. Bias is subjective. Somebody who perceives bias in a negative way also means there's somebody else who perceives that bias in a positive way. So I think we cannot legislate bias. You cannot legislate fairness. You cannot legislate hygiene. An analogy I use since we have all finished lunch is mandating that you must buy all your groceries from Walmart or Costco. Then giving you a recipe when you're buying your groceries, and then asking people in your family to rate it even before you have made your meal, is the state of regulation before the White House came in with its latest AI action plan. So we have to balance innovation with responsibility, while understanding also that responsibility falls across various scales. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I think, in the current culture and place where we're living, we have become the product to a lot of these companies, and our data is what is being sold and manipulated. We have no control over that in a lot of circumstances. The general public. So I think that's kind of where I was kind of.
You're absolutely right. So
compliance is not security, right? And that's when you throw regulations in there and you throw compliance in there, people check boxes and all that stuff goes out the window.
I'll mention a couple of use cases as to why that is important. What we are not yet seeing is a backlash against AI. We are in early days. We are still seeing a lot of irrational exuberance. We are seeing FOMO. We are seeing real value being created. I will tell you, real value is being created in multiple hundreds of use cases across America today. But we are also seeing a lot of FOMO, a lot of hype. The backlash is coming. And the backlash is going to come when different populations get affected by decisions about AI that they didn't know that that decision was taken with AI in the loop. It's definitely coming. Like any technology wave throughout history, it will come. How do we prepare for it? The other important question, professionally at Velachura, we have built a AI product called Consent Manager Plus, which allows people to take charge of their own consents. The interesting thing in America is unless you take charge of your own consents, your data belongs to the person treating you or the organization treating you. Try getting that out without filling a few forms or paying for it. On the other hand, you control your consent. So if you are able to enable that, then you are able to bring a lot of goodness to life. Where one of the things, as a parent of 2 kids who are both active in school and sports, the first thing we have to do is manage all the immunization forms and everything else before they start their school activities for the year on any sports team. These are all real use cases where AI can help. What if I have an aging parent, given what we are seeing in the country demographically, of my parent that I have to admit to a hospice or a skilled nursing facility? I have to manage consents on their behalf. It's time for us to go beyond AI and I talk a lot about this in my congressional testimony. We should stop talking about just personalized AI, which is AI that some company or some entity decides to build for us, with us as the product. We also have to start talking about personal AI, where we own the data, we own the assets, but most importantly, we own the innovation and monetization that comes out of it. I'm happy to send that link to Greg, because it's something that I'm very passionate about. In a democratic republic like we live in, citizens must get benefit as much as other entities. If that doesn't happen, then the benefits of AI will reinforce the digital divide I talk about, which is access to AI across the street or access to money or models versus you not having access, and insulating us from the threat that any one company can host our data and cut off our access. That's the other thing which we don't talk about enough. I will say this because it's in the news. Anthropic recently cut off access to their programming AI model to OpenAI. Not kidding. Because OpenAI was using Anthropic's models in terms of service couldn't be enforced. Fine. Two Silicon Valley giant fight, it's only the grass that suffers. Question is, do you want to be where your personal data is in somebody else's cloud that you don't have access to? No, you don't. No, you don't.
Yeah. I have a 5-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son. You know, I got letters a couple months ago from one of these health breaches. I mean, their health data has been stolen. You know, they didn't have access to that. They had no, you know, it's a crazy world that they're going to grow up in.
Well, let's fix that, because I could give you a solution where you can manage it on their behalf, and I'm not looking for your money.
Along the same lines with regulations and kind of the ethics, what are companies doing to mitigate some of the environmental challenges that come along with the use?
I'm going to answer that, but I'm going to also use it as a soapbox moment for what companies must not do. What companies, entities like cities, etc. must not do is regulate AI before you have innovation and solutions in place. That is called the European model. Oops, am I being recorded? Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that loudly. But that's the European model. You regulate the heck out of stuff before it even comes to life. This is planning to have a baby for 35 years after you're eligible. Baby's not come out. You're still talking about 8 months, 10 days or 9 months, 15 days for the ideal pregnancy. You don't want to do that. So the temptation to govern AI, the temptation to give human qualities to AI, which is very dangerous, must be balanced by the ability for us to generate value out of it. Let's generate value. Let's be open to experimentation and innovation as opposed to regulation first. You don't want a European model. Today on AI, China, a communist country, a closed country behind the great Chinese firewall, is opening up more AI for its citizens than we are. And that should concern all of us.
A couple of incidents have come up in the last few years. You and I may have talked about it one time. About doing legal research, came up with cases that did not exist. One thing, how does that get into the stream? But also, you know, what kind of guidelines do you have around that? Plus, in the news recently about a 16-year-old that was using basically AI, some form of AI as a mental health counselor, and we started talking about suicide. And apparently, based on what I read, the AI said, well, here are your options on how to commit suicide. So how do you think about addressing those kinds of things?
Again, a very broad faceted thing. I'll talk about two things. One is easier to talk about than the other. The first is suicide, which is a tough topic, and it's very important. It's where AI can go bad, and there's more than that one instance, by the way, because I track a lot of AI safety stuff. The second topic is easier to talk about, which is stupidity. There is no AI defense to human stupidity. We have built agents inside Velachura. First thing we have done is a big bold letter that says, when you type the prompt in, you are responsible for verifying the information that the system creates, whether it's machine or human machine, agent to agent, etc. It doesn't give you a hall pass. It's taking away 70 to 85% of your grunt work. For God's sake, you can take the time you have saved there to actually be more human. Do your freaking job. Number one. Number two, AI agent can do the various things we talked about over here. it can do threat detection, it can do penetration testing, intelligence analysis. It still can't prevent you from putting username and password as your username and password. That stuff still happens. So unless we are also going to design an AI that mimics human stupidity, it is difficult for us to completely divorce the human. This is why it is important for these agents in mission critical instances to have some level of human review. The other thing, which I talk about a lot in my book, while we give characteristics, human-like characteristics to these agents, our legal system doesn't punish AI agents any more than it punishes ghosts. Responsibility still belongs to individuals and legal entities. So you're going to be sued as an individual or a fiduciary office holder, or your company is going to be sued. And if your company is going to be sued, typically it's an individual behind it. Our legal systems don't allow us to sue AI agents yet. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. But we should start thinking of this framework. So I can't sue an agent, but will we allow agents to carry liability for decisions? It's an interesting conversation. Can we do that all the time? Can I wash my hands off? No. Right? The second thing you talked about, this is very, very challenging. Because much as this loneliness, we face a loneliness crisis, especially as people are aging, in the Western world especially. The Western world is going through a very accelerated aging crisis and impending loneliness crisis. These bots, these robots, these things have a role to play. You're going to have a bigger mental health crisis on your hands if you're going to let people sit by themselves at home without any simulation, for God's sake. Where are we going to get workers from? Where are we going to get home health aides from? This is not a comment on anything else. It's a comment on the fact that the Western world is going through demographic challenges that requires us to be friendly towards AI. Now, how do you build the guardrails and the controls to prevent those never events from happening? I think that's a responsibility of I would like to say there is a simple technical answer. Build responsible AI, use 42001, do model transparency, do AI censor. You can come up with these things. But in the end, it's also a question of how we as society are going to react. And I don't think that story has been written yet. What is dangerous is allow these to work as black boxes. That is unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. Right?
We have a question from the live stream. It's how can UX writers and content designers stay in the AI and machine learning conversation? How do they keep from being excluded?
I certainly didn't set that question up. I started my career as an advertising person creating ads for print and digital media, and that led to my career into UX design, which led me to where I am. So I blame UX and writing for you being forced to listen to me. Start getting hands-on. I'm happy. I challenge you that give me 1 hour of your time and I will give you a fully functional app starting from idea to deployment in 1 hour with AI today. 1 hour. You can put it into production, you can start making money, you can start providing services. You'll have to scale it up, you'll have to harden it, you have to put security into it, you'll have to make it do multi-tenant, multi-cloud, all of that good stuff. But we live in a world where UX designers control their own destiny. Don't focus on using AI to build a better wireframe. Use your skills, not just in visual and written communication, but also your skills in understanding users, understanding customers, consumers, and become not just a person doing UX, but the owner of the product and the owner of the user experience. You have a chance to truly make user experience your own now, because AI can do a lot of the grunt work, not all of it, but a lot of the grunt work of what used to take 10, 20, 30 developers, QA, DevOps people. You can now manage that with smaller teams. But in order for you to do that, each of us has to control our own destiny. These tools, see what is happening, agents being the latest in that. 40 years ago, all programming was done as what is called assembly. You had to know mathematics. You had to know bits and bytes to succeed in that world. 35 years ago, it became COBOL. Then it became C++. Then it became Visual Basic. Then it became Ruby on Rails, Rust, Python. Today, for the first time in human history, you're all developers, but the programming language you use is English. That's power that none of us have had before. If you had to be like me to be able to do this 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago. Today you can be like me, but you can be better than me because you bring your own unique knowledge and experiences which I don't have. So you're in control of your own destiny. And this is the point I made even in my testimony. Let us start treating ourselves as children, each of us. Not just our kids as children, but ourselves as children. And we start soaking up of these new opportunities that are in front of us. And go forth boldly in the true sense of American exceptionalism.
So I don't think that AI is a fad. I think it's probably here to stay, and that we're going to be involved in interacting with AI for the foreseeable future, at least in our lifetime, as it continues to grow. If you could leave just briefly one thing, one takeaway for the folks that were on the live stream and here, that when they walked away to cause thought, thought-provoking thing, what would that one thing be that you would want to, what one takeaway would you want to leave them with?
From a very selfish perspective, buy my book. Demystifying AI for the enterprise. Not only because it helps my kids' college fund, which it does, but because it talks about AI for people who don't have degrees in data science, mathematics, linear algebra, frankly. But more importantly, the one takeaway I would have is resolve that this weekend, each of you is going to build one AI app. And in case you're wondering how you're going to get started, we'll share my information with Greg.
Yes.
And I'll even do a workshop for you using one of the tools we use at Velachura to show you how to do it. Resolve to build one app. It can be for a hobby. I've helped people building crocheting apps, and trust me, I have no interest in crocheting. But it's been one of the funnest things I did. I also built an app for someone to find out all the bars attached to golf courses, so that his wife doesn't ask him why he chose those particular golf courses. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that for Greg's sponsored event, but there's multiple uses you can get out of this.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I greatly appreciate it. This was great information. Again, Prashant will share with me the slides and contact information. If anybody is interested, they can just send an email to info@flatearth.net, and we will make sure that you get everything. The live stream will also be available for review, and that'll be posted probably this afternoon or this evening, and will be available on our YouTube channel. So again, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate your time. Thank you all for joining, and have a fantastic day.
Thanks.